Del Rio, Texas. Rob Wade. And Robert Garza. Two guys who dive. This episode of Two Guys Who Dive, recorded live 2 March 2013, episode 57. Frankly, I was blown away. Well, good evening once again. Welcome to another exciting, fun-filled, fact-filled episode of Two Guys Who Dive, and looks like I might be going solo again tonight. Don't know what happened to my cohort, my co-host, my dive buddy, Scuba Bob, a.k.a. Bobby Flamingo, a.k.a. Robert Garza. But he's not here yet. Haven't gotten a text or anything from him. So we're just going to go ahead and get this show on the road. Very interesting week this week. You may have heard of this little thing called a sequester. Well, I happen to be one of those federal employees. I work for Department of Defense, and I'll be one of those affected by it. And as a conservative person, I can tell you that I'm in favor of it. We need to cut back where we can, and this really is not. It's not a real cut. You know, it's a shame that there are people out there who are trying to frame it differently and treat it like it's the end of the world. Of course, we saw that that our president started out with the gloom and doom. Then, of course, when the facts came out, he had to back down a bit and admit that, well, effects aren't going to be felt immediately, but that there will be some effects growing in different areas down the road, and it won't be an immediate issue. But, you know, of course, he then followed up by various bits of gloom and doom. And, you know, the fact is there will be some folks affected. Looks like probably I'll lose, as will many, if not most, of the federal employees will lose 1 day a week between now and the end of the fiscal year. But, you know, I was, my wife and I, my producer and I, we're preparing for that. So, and as should everybody. Really, if you were pretending like it wasn't going to happen, you were kind of silly about that. So, you know, we tighten our belts just like everybody else tightens their belts in a tough economy. So the fact is, it's time for the government to. Now, the reality of the situation is, you know, if they'd actually executed the sequester back when they first created it, we wouldn't be seeing the gloom and doom and effect that we are now. But it's one of those pay me now or pay me later things. You know, I teach in the lean world that the longer you wait to that you wait to fix a problem, the cost to do so grows dramatically. So the problem is we should have done it when they first came up with the idea. Then it'd be spread across the whole year. But now we're having part of the year done, and now we have to do this. We have to execute this sequester. So we have all this money we have to cut between now and the end of the fiscal year. So, you know, the reality of it is it's not really a cut. It's a reduction in the rate of growth. And this is the part that really gets me angry and frustrated with people, is that they aren't cutting anything. You know, if we've established our budget at this, and we expected our growth to go to here in the next fiscal year, okay, so we have this rate of growth. We're going from here to here. Now, what they've done with the sequester is says we're going to reduce the rate of growth. So instead of going here, we're going here. So it's not a dramatic change. It just means we're not, oh, here he is. Better late than never. So anyway, so it's not that they're actually cutting the budget. They're just reducing how quickly we grow the budget because they program in a certain increase past the baseline every year. So what they've done with the sequester says you're not going to be allowed to grow as fast as you originally expected to. But this has everybody in panic because you end up buying ahead. I mean, unfortunately, human nature is what it is. And so there you go. Unplug yourself. Welcome. Scuba Bob has made it.
Yes.
Made it. So anyway, I was talking a little bit about the sequester, which of course went into effect yesterday. And as a federal employee, I am affected.
Yep.
And I was sharing my thoughts on it. So anyway, so everybody, when you realize the typical human nature is when you are expecting to get an increase in money, we have a tendency to go out ahead of the arrival of that money and obligate ourselves to things. We go out and buy a house, or we get a bigger house, or we get we could do a vacation, or we get a car or something like that because, woo, we got more money coming in. Well, unfortunately, the federal government and state governments and local governments are really no different. They anticipate that they're not going to get less than what they had the previous year, that they're actually getting more, and they budget for that increase and they use such magical numbers as cost of living increases and inflation and all this stuff to bump up their numbers for the next year.
Right.
Well, the thing is, they end up already kind of obligating ahead into that money that they expect. So now what happens is you've already started creating, and I can speak from experience in the federal government, that you've already created these things like additional positions that you want to fill, or new construction you want to do, or there's all these things you already budget for and you plan for. So when somebody says, I'm sorry, you're not going to get all that you thought you were going to get for the new year. We're not going to make it less, but we're not going to make it as much as you were expecting to increase. And so then there's this panic. Oh, we're not going to be, people are not going to get, we're going to lose jobs because they hired people they shouldn't have hired. They expanded in ways they shouldn't have expanded, anticipating this money was coming.
Right.
Well, okay, so the sequester happened. So it's really just, instead of we're increasing you this much, we're just increasing you that much. So it's not actually a cut. But unfortunately, since as I said earlier, if we had done this back when they first came up with it, it wouldn't have been nearly the impact it is now. Yeah. But we waited, and so we've compressed what has to happen into a shorter period. So that does create the furloughs and things like that. We wouldn't have had these had they started it back when they should have done it. Yeah. So this was just a really bad decision by everybody involved. I lay the blame squarely on across the board on this one. Interestingly, let me let Ronan join the podcast here. This is our regular latecomer to the show. Say hi to everybody. Really? There we go. Excuse me. This was the president's idea. It came out of his mind, and it's so funny that he's saying, this dumb thing, these dumb arbitrary cuts from the sequester. I'm like, dude, it was your idea. Of course, the whole idea behind it was these are so quote unquote draconian, which they're not, but these are so draconian that nobody's going to let this happen. So I'll be able to use this as a bludgeon to force people to compromise my way. I'm like, okay. That everybody does that. Any president, I don't care which side, they all play those kind of tricks. But don't turn around since everybody does play these tricks, don't act like, oh, I'm completely innocent in all this. And because believe it or not, even reporters were kind of trying to tag him on it in this the last press conference he gave. They're like, so Mr. President, do you believe you shoulder any blame at all on this? And of course, the tap dance began. And he's like, well, the Republicans drag this on because they don't want to close loopholes. I'm like, dude, you already got your tax increase. I'm paying higher taxes. Are you paying higher taxes?
A little bit.
Okay. So everybody's paying you got your higher taxes. So get off the tax bandwagon. It's time to cut some stuff. So if you'd have done it back, if everybody had just said, okay, It ain't good. It ain't what we wanted, but we really do need to trim things. So let's do it when we should have, and this wouldn't have been nearly as painful as it's turned out to be.
Yeah.
So, Tara and I are going to have to, go out to dinner less. We're going to have to go out to the movies less. Netflix is going to be a bigger friend to us.
Yeah, I was just looking at that today, actually.
Netflix?
And, there's a lot of good movies on there right now. So,
and they're going to look even better. It's kind of like going to a nightclub. The ugly girls get prettier at the end of the night, as the beer goes on. Yeah, at the bottom of the beer. Yeah.
I actually got a couple of friends who are, agents, Border Patrol agents.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to affect them. I mean, they're panicking. I know some of them rely on the overtime. It's kind of like one of those things that you should balance for. What's the word? Plan for what your base salary is, and that's what you should make.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
The overtime is all it's all cake, it's just icing on the cake for you for extra little things that you want, or put it in the bank for those rainy days that do happen, come along for all of us. But don't go out and buy yourself expensive cars, right? Because you can rely on that overtime, or
right,
or of course how they say living past your means.
Yep.
Well, I got a couple of friends that are in that situation. They went and bought houses over here in Copland, that new subdivision, and they're sitting pretty with their $300,000-$400,000 house, and their Tahoes and all their cars and everything else. Well, I don't know what they're gonna do now, because now they're like, it's gone.
Yeah. I just I calculated what this will mean to me. Specifically, I haven't figured on Tara's salary, but it'll be about $400 a month less.
Yeah.
So, or actually $400 paycheck less.
Wow.
So $800 a month.
Yeah.
Which is definitely going to be felt, but you know what? If that's what it takes to get where we need to, I'm okay with it. We'll, we will plan ahead. That just means there'll be less dispensable income. I'm just thankful that over the years we were much more diligent about paying down all of our debts and stuff. So, as it is, we have a number of things that we could cut back on even more if we had to. And I know people who are literally living on a shoestring. So, and it's just, and they have kids, 4 kids. And so, well, now 3. And so it's just Tara and I. So now, fortunately, our house is only about 4 years away from being paid off. And we didn't buy, as you can tell, we didn't buy a $300,000 house.
Yeah.
When we bought our house, it was $49,000. Yeah. And I think currently it appraised at like 80, something like that. So while over the years, we have entertained the idea of getting a bigger house, I would like to have a really nice back room to set up for a really nice studio. That would be great. But, it's fine. We're making do with it. We're having a good time with it. And I really like having the small house payment that we have.
You see, and that's me. That's me, because we've entertained the idea about, well, let's go ahead and let's rent a house and, get ourselves into something newer.
Right.
I really love our house.
Yeah.
Like I said, there are certain trials that do come along that things got to break and that you got to fix.
Yeah.
But I like it. And like you, I like having a house payment that I can afford.
Yes.
Not something that I'm like.
Absolutely.
And it gives me the luxury of being able to still do what we do.
Exactly.
Of course, because of my job change from 2 years ago to now.
Right.
Did affect a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm still making.
Adjusted.
Yeah, we adjusted and we got by, and we're doing great.
Yeah.
But I really feel for those people that really got into their way over their head with all of their luxuries. They are nice if you can swing it, but then you got to plan on days like like this.
That's right.
And I remember always, my friends always telling me, the job to get into is federal law enforcement, because that's where the money is. And it's true. That's where the pay is.
Yeah.
But you do run into situations like this. My friend Dominic is also,
Yeah.
a little concerned about what he was going to do. He saw it as, man, I'm making a big jump. I'm going from, technology at the school to this,
Right.
For a private company,
Right.
On base, and financially it was great. But he does, when the contracts do have to come for renewal, he's stressing.
He's on the fence there. Yeah.
So he's like, well, we're letting you know, it can't happen.
Yep, it's true. It's true.
So,
yeah, this should be, actually the big crash in 2008 should have been the big wake-up call for folks. But, over time, just a span of a few short years, people have forgotten again that nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah.
Whether you work for the government or you work in the private sector. And I'm thankful that I do have, the scuba diving stuff as a distraction as well as potential extra income. Although I've yet to make anything at the end of the year, still losing money. But, the bottom line is there's ways to eke it out. But the fact is, we have made sure that we live well within our means. That wasn't always the case, but
yeah.
I at one point, on one side, I feel bad for those who are overextended, but on the other side, I look at them the same way I did all those people that got hit by the housing bubble and ultimately when everything crashed in 2008. That was bad decision making on their part. You make X. There's no guarantee you're going to make X as your business or government, wherever you're working, goes on. You should have plenty of buffer in there. Don't go out and buy a house and car and everything that pushes you to the ragged edge of your income limit. That is exactly how the federal government got into the situation that it's in. Spent more money than was coming in because it obligated, saying, oh, well, we feel bad, we need to do this, and we need to do that, and the other thing. So they kept obligating money that they didn't have, that the economy couldn't support. So that's what we're stuck with.
Yep.
So anyway, so we have an interesting couple of months. I guess we're expecting, if nothing happens, between now and April, I guess towards the end of April, we'll start seeing 4-day work week.
Yeah.
So on the upside, that'll mean that there'll be more things around the house that I can take care of. It just means I have to be much more sparing about the money that I plug into doing that kind of stuff. So
I think
I may have some more dive time available.
I think everything is going to be fine.
It is going to be fine.
It's going to work out. It's going to be a little tight for a little bit.
Yep.
But eventually, there's certain things that they're just not going to be able to do without. So they're going to eventually
they'll figure something.
They'll figure something out, and you'll see it.
Yeah.
Yes, you're gonna feel it a little bit, but it'll all work itself out.
Yeah, I look at it this way: God's my source, ultimately, and right now, the job that I'm at is simply an avenue for God to provide the source, material and money that I need. He'll get it to me where I need to, so I can make sure I can bless other people.
I always look at it as if God closes the door, don't worry, there's a window that's open. It's a little smaller. You're not going to be able to walk.
Speaking of windows, have you seen that commercial for, I think it's Dish TV or Direct TV, where, if you, I found out that if I convince one of my friends to join Direct TV or Dish TV, we both get $50, and the guy sitting there goes, $50, and then he runs over to the window and turns around, sits on it, and then falls out the window, and he's yelling, $50.
No, I haven't.
I was like, that's that opportunity opening in the window.
Yeah. And I've always said that. So, and it's true,
$50?
No, the window. The open window.
Yep. So true. Let's check the chat room here right now. Nobody's in the chat room. Okay, so moving along. So we were talking about how Mobile World Congress was going on this past week, and of course it's mobile, so that's where the emphasis is.
Mm-hmm.
Nokia, as was anticipated, they announced a couple of new mid-range devices, the Lumia 520 and the 720, and then also Nokia announced released their what they call their Here suite, which is basically they kind of rebranded their Maps, their Drive, and their Transit apps into a Here suite, and they've integrated them more, which is pretty cool. I mean, they were already very good individual apps, but now you can be in one of them and actually do something that passes you right into the other app. That's really what I for lack of a better description, I think it is about as closely follows Microsoft's hub concept as any third party has done. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to more things that they're going to do with that. And then LG came out with the Optimus G Pro.
The Optimus.
Optimus Prime.
Prime.
Transformers. Oh, we're such geeks.
We roll.
Let's roll. Okay, so, and then HTC came out with the much vaunted and hyped One. Have you seen anything on that?
I
saw the camera comparisons. And
I saw the camera on that.
Didn't quite live up to the hype.
No.
It's good. It's a good camera. I mean, clearly the OEMs are really focusing a lot on cameras now, that they're using that as a selling point. But everybody's trying to come up with their own idea of how to do it better.
I walk around like Walmart, and I don't see those cameras like I used to anymore.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
They're slowly kind of disappearing.
Yep.
Of course, the professional cameras, good cameras like your Canons.
Oh, yeah.
And, with the zoom lens and
that
stuff.
cost you about $600.
Yeah,
or
those digital cameras will always be around because those are like the thing.
Those are pro.
Those are pro cameras.
Yep.
But for everyday use like us, the phones are getting.
Yep,
man,
very good. If you go for the top end of any of the platforms, the top end of the Windows, the top end of the iPhone, and the top end of the Android, you will get a great phone, a great camera with your phone.
Mm-hmm.
It really comes down to edging out certain features. Now, they've been doing Nokia did a good job with their PureView, and it's so far won most of the competitions. Both the iPhone and the Lumia 920 did clearly beat the HTC One. They were talking about we've got 4 megapixels, but they're like the really large pixels to do this. And I'm like, okay, so yeah, we get. And Gianna's making a guest appearance. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. There we go. The fact that they're letting more light onto the sensors just means that what they end up with is a much grainier. Oh, cool. Tom Jones, he's a bass player in our praise team. He just tweeted me that they watched part 1 of Atlas Shrugged.
Oh.
We're going to have a kind of an Atlas Shrugged part 2 party. We just got the part 2 video, and a bunch of our friends that are like-minded I told them, we'll watch or rewatch it, the part 1, so we can get together and have a little party. So anyway, back to the topic. But it turns out that their low light photos are very grainy. They're they're brighter. They're actually brighter than the Lumia, which was the brightest but the clearest of all of them. But it was very grainy and not nearly as sharp. So the winner's still Lumia 920 on that. And then in the behemoth category, Samsung Galaxy Note 8.0. So everybody's jumping into we're going to see tablets all over the place this year. It's going to be crazy.
Uh-huh.
Sony came out with the watertight Xperia Tablet Z.
Watertight.
I'm thinking, for a diver,
he'll be down there showing, okay, kids, this is what I want you to do now.
What do I need an old-fashioned dive slate for?
Just take a tablet down there.
There we go. Man, they come up with something that's truly able to handle the depth. I'm all over that, like white on rice. That's going to be cool.
Yeah.
And then Alcatel came out with the One Touch Idol X. That's a 5.1 inch behemoth. Those, I tell you, everybody's moving to these phablets. As a matter of fact, speaking of phablets, ZTE came out with the Grand Memo 5.7. Hello. Hello. I asked for a big phone.
And you got one.
Oh, my goodness. And then, of course, there were new releases, mostly in the Android world, for Lenovo, Acer, and Huawei. Huawei.
Who's the one that's carrying the Firefox OS? Is that?
I haven't really looked into that because that's kind of like the web OS. I'm like,
yeah.
another niche. You know, somebody wants to be totally off the reservation and have something. I've got one of those. Okay, that's fine. So, and then also at the Mobile World Congress, NFC was huge. They had all sorts of stuff coming out there. Everybody was paying for their little fees and food and all sorts of trinkets and stuff. They were using NFC. So if you had an NFC capable phone, that was the way to go there. So there are more companies pushing that into the public sector now, or the private sector now. So I'm excited to see that. It's much more prevalent over in Europe than it is here, but it's growing. It's growing. So it's pretty exciting. As a matter of fact, there were hints that possibly later this year another version of the iPhone with NFC would come out, and possibly with wireless charging, which was the other big thing. There are, and Tara's. Oh, by the way, Tara is coming back from, what did she say here? Oh, she's in Uvalde. They went to a women's retreat or women's seminar conference at Texas Bible Institute in Houston.
Wow.
So so basically yesterday and today I was batching it, me and the dogs, and so they finished up this afternoon around 3, so they were heading their way back. So she's in Uvalde now.
Cool.
Yeah. So the dogs will be glad to have her home, as will I. So anyway, a lot of neat, because QI or Chi or however you pronounce, they've got a weird pronunciation. Chi, Chai, Kai, whatever it is. It's spelled QI. They are, of course, they hold the standard for wireless charging. So they've been licensing or whatever the technology to a number of companies, and so at the MWC there were a lot of different form factors for just really cool designs on wireless chargers. Nokia's got one for the car.
Oh, really?
A holder wireless charger for the car.
So you just put it on there and it charges?
Yes.
Wow, that's cool.
Oh. What are you talking for? And I forget which company it was, working with automakers to actually build in, as part of the console, put it in where the console comes up, there'd be a wireless charging pad right there that interfaces, that has a screen with it. So that when you set it down, for instance, it'll work. It looks like it works similarly to the way Nokia's little stand-up wireless charger works, where you can associate its wireless and NFC. So when you put your phone on it, it starts the wireless charging, but also the NFC activates an app of your choosing, typically music. So imagine this: you just sit your smartphone in on your console, and it's a little wireless charger, so it's charging it up and it's immediately playing music from it.
Oh, that's cool.
That is what that is the way it is. And these our vehicles are just going to become another appliance, a mobile appliance.
There you go. When sequestration goes away, it's just another reason to buy another car.
That's right. That's right. No, I'll just retrofit mine. I'm not enamored of getting another car payment. So, and in other related news, a application that I was a fan of back when I was using Pocket PC and Windows Mobile, and of course has been available on the Windows desktop, and has been available as an app on both Android and iPhone. Finally got released for the Windows Phone 7 and 8. I was participating in the beta test, and since I have both a Windows Phone 7 and a Windows Phone 8 device, I was able to beta test it on both devices. And I was just really excited because it's just got way more features than it ever did when it was on the old Pocket PC and Windows Mobile. So Pocket Bible from Laridian is now out in the store, available for download. But they're still constantly doing updates.
Right.
He's adding more features. They're really cool stuff. And the version for Windows RT and Windows 8 desktop, or rather the Metro side of the desktop, Windows 8, is almost ready. I've been beta testing it, and
cool.
And it works almost exactly the way it does on the phone, just in a landscape format rather than the profile.
Straight up, yeah.
Yeah. So look for that as well. So if you are looking for a really, really good Bible app, Pocket Bible, and actually, no matter what platform you're on, it's really good. You ought to try it out. The neat thing about it is the app itself is free, and a number of the Bible translations are free as well, and some of the books are. So you can go out to their website, sign up, and then you can purchase, and through the app you can purchase additional translations, or just install other ones that are free. Yeah. And then you can use multiple translations at the same time on the app. It's very, very good app.
Awesome.
And they're very responsive to the customers' requests for features and things like that. So really excited for that. So how's your week been?
My week was okay.
Last week you couldn't share too much. It was just interesting.
Yeah. This week was a little bit better, except the whole family got I guess, a stomach flu.
Oh yeah.
So we were all out. We were all down for the count on
going
Wednesday.
All over the place.
On Wednesday, we were down for the count, and even right now, my stomach is still kind of
gurgly.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of. But I'm doing better. I'm able to at least, keep the food in.
Keeping food down is always good.
Yeah,
you hate to get to
good.
the dry heave part. I hate that.
Well, the whole thing is when you're throwing up, and of course when your stomach isn't cooperating with you, you dehydrate real quick.
Oh yeah,
and it's just horrible. And then you're drinking a lot of liquid, and it's just.
And it's just going right through.
It's just going right through you, just like a funnel. And but it's good. It's good. I liked it. I mean, I lost 5 pounds.
That's not the way you want to lose the weight, dude.
I don't want to lose the weight that way, but hey, I'll take it. But aside from that, everything is it's going well. Going well. Can't complain.
So, of course, I shared about the sequester, and it's been a very interesting week. Our network has been up and down like Otis Elevator Company.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
As a matter of fact, got a phone call this morning that the network crashed again. I was like, seriously? Everybody's trying to get work done, in anticipation of having fewer days to do it. And the worst time you could think of to have a network crash, but... So, speaking of network crashing, nearly had one here. Came in last night after work, and the file server, the primary, was down. I'm like, what?
I've had to reboot my wireless router more often.
I have 2.
Probably within the last month or so. I've had to reboot it at least once a week, maybe twice a week.
Yeah. Because you find that you don't have a connection?
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know what's going on with that.
Is yours a Linksys as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I've checked the firmware up, on it.
Yeah, I've got the latest on mine, too.
It's good to go.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just...
I hate it when that happens.
I hate it. Talking about, gadgets and all these things that came out. You mentioned watertight. OtterBox came out with a new case recently.
Love OtterBox.
OtterBox is the bomb.
Yes.
The Armor series. They're making it for the iPhone 5, the
right.
iPhone 4S, and the Galaxy 3.
Yeah.
The Galaxy S3.
Yeah.
Is it S3?
Yes. S3.
Okay, I get confused with
because they're about to release the Galaxy S4.
Yeah, there's so many of them.
Yes.
The case itself...
the whole universe of galaxies.
Yes. There's so many galaxies. And there's black holes in there. So, they're going to get all gobbled up.
That would be BlackBerry.
That would be BlackBerry, and everybody's going to hog them all up. Well, a lot of people wanted a case that was, of course, made by OtterBox, because,
right.
They're awesome cases.
Yeah.
But that's waterproof, crush-proof, dust-proof, and... shockproof, did I say?
Yeah. No, you didn't say shockproof.
Okay, shockproof too. Yeah. LifeProof had made a case for the iPhone 4S and for the iPhone 5. They retail about $100. Pretty good cases and everything else, but they wanted one from OtterBox. So they went ahead and came up with one based on, consumer requests.
Right.
And they did. And I just recently picked one up for my iPhone 5. It's a mammoth.
Okay, let me get the camera on you because you got to show that off.
All right.
That's a cool looking.
Okay, let me get it up here.
There
It's I got the orange one. They have a green one and then a blue one, and the blue is just the accent down here on the bottom.
Right.
It's blue, and then
tip that up a little bit more so we can see it. No, the other way, so we can see the bright orange. On the
okay, it's actually very bright.
Yeah, for some reason it's not showing up.
It's not.
I guess
the
lights are.
Yeah, but
pull it back to you a little bit more. That's
it's orange, is like the color of my shirt. For some reason, it's
not showing up as well.
It's
there we go. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. I guess it's the light.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Nice.
It's very
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very orange. The case itself is pretty thick. It's water resistant to 6 feet or 7 feet, 6.9 feet for 30 minutes. As long as all the ports and everything are closed, nothing's gonna happen. It's crush rated to 2 tons, so you can run over it with your car and nothing's gonna happen to it. And it's drop rated to 10 feet.
Now, it doesn't look like it's actually covering anything over your actual screen.
There is a screen protector, but it runs all the way through the whole case, and it's sealed with an O-ring.
So just like the camera casing.
Exactly, and it's got these little metal clips on the sides that actually act like a secure thing. The back of the case comes completely off,
right?
And there is an O-ring that completely seals all of that, and then all of the ports. It's pretty nice. It's $100. The only thing is, it does add a lot of weight to your phone. There is no holster.
Thickness too, because you know iPhone 5 is a really thin phone.
It's really thin, but I mean, if you want to protect your phone and stuff like that, it's not very, I guess, user friendly. If you're gonna be like somebody who's just gonna throw it in a purse or something. This is more for somebody who's going to be working outside, a construction worker, somebody, a cop, somebody that, you know, if I'm going to need to use my phone and it's raining outside, it's not gonna,
that is sweet.
Mess anything, and all of your ports, your jacks, all of your things are accessible without no problem.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is sweet.
So it's pretty neat. It's $100. It is expensive, but I think.
Well, then you have a $600 investment in a phone. So
exactly.
Yeah, I think it's probably worthwhile.
You know, for me, I don't plan on going swimming with it, or I don't plan on dropping it or running over with my car.
It could happen.
That's
right.
know. So the biggest thing, I guess, where people mess up their phones is they'll drop them in toilets, or they get wet, or
Or a good friend of mine in their swimming pool.
Yeah.
Twice.
Or you know what? This happens, and I've seen it happen. You're sitting at your desk, and you reach for a glass of water, and it's sitting there, and you knock it over.
Funny you should mention that. I will be buying a new keyboard.
Oh, okay.
I had a Mountain Lightning accident just a little bit ago. Okay. So half my keys don't work.
Okay, well, see, there you go.
Yeah.
And it'll protect your phone. So $100, $99,
nice.
Available through OtterBox. And the other phones, if you have some other phones, they haven't announced that they're going to do it, but they have for the iPhones and for the Galaxy S.
Nice. You know, as popular as the Lumia 920 is, I'm kind of surprised. There have been some interesting cases already come out for it, but I'm kind of surprised they haven't already started to work on something like that.
They make a Defender case for that phone.
Yeah.
I would.
The Defender case is pretty cool.
Yeah, I still would have gotten it. It would have added a little more bulk to the phone.
Right.
But, you know, it takes care of it, and it really does.
Awesome. So, yeah, protect your investment, especially if you're sequestered, because if you go into the furlough situation, you can't afford to get a new phone.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. But you know what? If you're in this, if you fall into that situation, you might want to hold on to those $100 for something else.
Yeah.
But if you have it, you know.
Got until the end of April.
Yeah, there you go.
So the title of the episode this week is, Frankly, I'm Blown Away. Because we've got a couple of different things we want to talk about. We've been kind of chatting a little bit here and there about the whole, the gun control issue.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're both big Second Amendment fans.
Did you get that video I sent you?
Yes. Well, I'd seen it. Somebody else posted on Facebook. And funny you should bring that up. Our esteemed vice president, who I consider to be one of the biggest buffoons since who was George the First's Dan Quayle.
Oh, damn. The damn.
Yes. Yeah, I am. When it comes to
Potatoes.
when it comes to idiocy, I don't care what party you're from. If you're stupid, you're just stupid. And Joe Biden is in the Dan Quayle class, and he of course tried to suggest that instead of trying to protect yourself with with that AR-15, which is of course the big hullabaloo that came out of the current legislation that's being pushed through in Colorado, he said, no, go ahead and do a shotgun. So I've got that video, and I want to show that. Here we go. Let's play this.
She's asking if a ban goes into effect on certain kinds of weapons.
What's with that guy's voice?
High-capacity magazines.
And what's her name?
Kate.
Kate. If you want to protect yourself, get
I don't know. That's a very girlish.
Yeah. Get yourself a
have
shotgun.
the shells, a 12-gauge shotgun, and I promise you, as I told my wife, we live in an area that's wooded and somewhat secluded. I said, Jill, if there's ever
Most
a problem,
people
just
don't.
walk out on the balcony.
Yeah, you
Most
know.
of our
Walk out,
population's in
put
in
that
metro
double-barrel
areas.
shotgun and fire 2 blasts.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. See, she got herself knocked out. Got her concussion. Yeah, that's going to really protect you. Ooh.
Like that. You'll be completely fine.
Yeah, you'll be completely fine.
Ow, Alan!
Ooh, Alan's
wrong,
going to
Autumn?
get it tonight.
Yep.
Jesus.
Ouch. Ouch.
Oh, it hurts. I don't like it.
I promise you, who's ever coming in is not going to... You don't need an AR-15. It's harder to aim.
No, it's not.
harder to use.
No, it's not. Look at that. Almost no kick.
No recoil whatsoever. You can shoot that thing all day.
And in fact, you don't need 30 rounds to protect yourself. Buy a shotgun. Buy a shotgun.
Let that be a lesson to you.
Wear a belt.
Make sure your pants are tight.
Yeah.
So yeah. You know, it just amazes me the people that say these things without actually thinking about it, without any research whatsoever. More people are coming out, law enforcement types even, are coming out on YouTube with viral videos showing the ignorance of trying to say that having reduced capacity magazines and clips are somehow safer. You know, the bottom line is it takes you almost no time to switch clips. So if someone is bent on doing mass carnage, they'll just buy a bunch more clips, and they can move through those very quickly. Mm-hmm. Because if they're planning on doing that, they're going to figure out how to make it as quick as possible. And they aren't difficult.
No.
They're not difficult at all.
Mm-mm.
So it's a myth. Every single thing that these people are trying to put through in gun control, ineffectual. Totally ineffectual for the real problem. The real problem, you know, they say, oh, it's gun violence. No, the problem is violence. We need to go after the root cause. What is making people become so violent? It wouldn't matter what device they use. You take guns away, they'll use something else. We saw something in San Antonio where somebody used a sword.
Yeah. You know, the whole thing about guns and everything, as a law enforcement officer myself.
Yep.
You know, if somebody wants to do harm, they're going to do it with or without a 30, 40, even a 60-round mag.
They'll come in with that 12-gauge shotgun.
They're going to come in with that 12-gauge shotgun. And not only that, instead of shooting one person or two, all I got to do is just shoot into a room of like people, and I'm going to hit 6 or 7 with one shot.
Yep.
You know, it's just like you said, Rob. You know, we got to find what's causing these problems. A lot of it is, you know, the economy. A lot of it is just mental issues.
Right.
The last few assaults that have occurred or anything like that are from people that are not sane.
Yes.
So you just gotta. I think all it is gun control, gun safety, and just make people, put your guns away for God's sake. If you know they're accessible, put them away.
Yeah.
If you've got children that are not,
Lock them up.
Yeah, there you go.
Or the kids.
Yeah,
Lock the
or
kids.
the kids. No, we don't. We don't want to do that. But I mean, be responsible if you're gonna have things like that. Just like a car,
Right.
we don't drink and drive. Be responsible. A gun is the same thing.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so I've kind of mentioned on previous podcasts recently, been getting into a lot of LinkedIn group discussions. And one of the groups I've been having discussions in is a PADI group. That's the organization that we're both certified through. And one of the, excuse me, one of the questions that spurred a lot of discussion was started off with, how does a new PADI, OWSI, or open water scuba instructor with multiple specialties find a job as an instructor? And so, I mean, literally for a few weeks now, this discussion's been going on. But this past week, this real beaut jumped on there. And I was like, there are just people who really make the rest of us look bad. And Dean, and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce his last name, said, he jumps on there. I would rather make $200,000 as a lawyer and dive 5 weeks a year and do my films in post-production. Because I dive 5 weeks a year, I am always excited and motivated to enter the water. I also have the cash flow to buy great recording equipment and top-level computers. If you're pissed off over salaries or job opportunities, go back to school, as I did at age 38 to get my law degree at night, and stop complaining. 5 weeks of diving at 5 tanks per day supplies plenty of film to keep me busy for a year, editing and color correcting at night and on the weekends. I never understood why anyone would be a dive instructor unless you also owned your own dive shop. It is hard work that is not appreciated, and dive masters are always looking for handout. Frankly, dive instructors are a pain in the you-know-what, and I have to listen to the tree hugger BS. That's why I go to Bonaire to shore dive in peace with my wife and avoid crowded boats and film in peace. I'm like, you pompous. I'm like, okay, so right off the bat, you're dissing instructors, you're dissing dive masters. How did you get to where you are? You had to have come under the instruction of an instructor, and probably did some diving with dive masters. You know what? The fact is they don't make a lot out there. And while he did have a point that given the current environment, because the discussion really covered a lot of how people are having a hard time as new instructors getting in and making decent money. The thing is, that sport is very competitive, or that activity is very competitive from a business perspective. So you always find people trying to undercut everybody else as far as the cost per class, etc., because they try to make their money up, especially if they're consolidated where they have the instruction and the dive trips along with the dive shop. They're trying to sell gear.
Yeah.
And really, PADI is structured to kind of do that, which is why some people call PADI put another dollar in.
Right.
But the thing is, he does have a point that if you really want to are looking at this long term, you really do need to look at doing your own operation, which is what I did. Because there just isn't really any dive shop here. There were a couple of dive shops, but they only specialize in selling equipment, not in the full package deal.
Right.
Most places you will find, like in the Keys or any tropical area, you're going to find dive shops that focus on the whole package. And so they're going to hire instructors and dive masters for as little as they can, and try to make up the money. You basically, as an instructor or dive master, you get a commission on gear sales, which is fine. That's all well and good, but that's not why I got into it. And one of the people who commented shortly after this Dean guy
Was Robert Wade?
Well, yes, of course I did. I was like, why are you participating in this group? Diane, she was very nice. She was actually a little bit nicer about it than I was, but basically she hit on all the same things that I did. Now, she claimed to be a tree hugger and was proud of it. And I was like, well, I want to protect the environment, but we're put in dominion over this. We're not supposed to be the bottom of the food chain here.
Yeah.
We're the top of it. So we just need to be good stewards. So we could probably come to some sort of agreement there. But everything else she was talking about on what, countering what he said was exactly right. And basically, if you're going to become an instructor, the first reason you should be doing it is not money.
Right.
It should be because you love the activity and you want to share it with others, and that's exactly why I got into it. I could have stopped at advanced diver and been fine, or even gone as far as rescue diver and been fine, but because I ran across so many people that expressed some interest in diving that I wanted to share the experience with them. And the only way I could do that really safely and legally was to become an instructor. Mm-hmm. And that's your goal too.
Right.
So the point is, right now, in most places, the economy is such that it's tough to make a tremendous amount of money as an instructor or as a dive master. And one of the comments that was made several times across multiple responses is that there is a perception that may be borne out by fact. I don't know. There is a perception that unless you're a 20-something with a Baywatch body, you can't expect to get hired at the good bucks and make good bucks continuing unless you look like that. And of course, interestingly, most of the people who were commenting were my age or older and significantly overweight. Just didn't really take care of themselves. But the point is, that is if you look at yourself that way and you don't sell yourself on your capability, then it doesn't matter what you look like. If a dive shop goes totally on the superficial, then they're probably in for a rude awakening. They're going to have some guy or a girl, mostly guys do this. You're going to end up with some guy who really looks good that he's going to be spending most of his time focusing on the girls.
Right.
And trying to, work behind the scenes with them and try to sell gear to their daddies and their boyfriends or whatever. But the bottom line is, if you really are doing this for the right reasons, you're going to hire people who have the skill set that you need, that really is going to promote safe diving, end up with students who are really fully qualified and to be certified, and are going to have a great experience, and they're going to have the respect of the students.
Right.
I have yet to have somebody come back and tell me that they didn't appreciate the way we're working the classes, the attention to detail, the care about how they're doing, how they're feeling. It's not just about get the skill sets, get them in the water, and give them their card. It's the whole package. That's what you bring to it. If you dress like and act like some old slouch, then that's exactly what you're going to get paid for.
Yeah.
So, well, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it goes back also to, everything is appearance.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
One of the things that really pushed me was, during the cold during the cold months, we tend to eat a little bit and kind of let loose a little, because it's a holiday season, and we pack on a little bit of pounds and stuff like that, and I had already told you that I wanted to complete my training,
right,
and a lot of it is being able to effectively complete the courses without being gasping for air. Like you said, like you said last week, the water's so low that you had to, even you were kind of winded. Tired. And
I was blown away.
and the first thing you said was, I'm going to have to do a few more reps, or I'm just going to have to, kind of get used
build up
to
some more endurance to
build
go.
up endurance to be able to do this, because you're going to have to do it.
Yep.
Which is like anything else. If you plan on doing the job, be prepared to do what's required of the job.
Yeah.
Obviously, image is in everything. If you want to be a lawyer, if you walk in there and you're all scruffy, granted, that's not going to take away from your abilities, because I have seen lawyers that,
oh yeah,
you would never guess they were attorneys.
This guy with his attitude and the way he wrote was like run-on sentence much.
Yeah.
And his grammar was horrible. I'm like, you're a lawyer? You probably got one of those we'll mail you a law degree things.
And then
box.
like, for example, in my profession as a law enforcement officer, most agencies have some sort of physical agility, some sort of physical fitness program, in order for you to, of course, try to stay in shape.
Yeah.
For one, you come to work more. Mm-hmm. You're less likely to call in sick. You're less likely to get hurt while on the job.
Absolutely right.
And things like that. Granted, that's not going to stop you, because I got a friend who's like, Mr. Olympia, and he's been out already for forever.
Yeah.
He's going through rehab, but he tore ligaments on his leg chasing a suspect through a backyard and fell into a hole.
Ouch.
So it's just things like that do happen.
Yeah.
But the days of like these big, fat, overweight, excuse me for even using that ugly word fat, but just using that overweight, all of that, the whole stereotype that cops have, where's the donuts and all of that. Granted, we do have officers that are a little overweight, but for the most part, most of them are all in shape, because that's the job you have.
Yeah.
If you're going to be an instructor, let's face it, everything is about image.
Yeah. But, even as you get older, it's more difficult. Not everybody can still look like Sylvester Stallone at 60 years old, but the thing is, even being a little overweight, you can still carry yourself. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. A classic example, in my opinion, I thought John Candy. He dressed well. He looked, other than the times when he was trying to look like a bum, that guy carried his size very well. Mm-hmm. He played in romantic comedies. He would play a romantic lead, and he pulled it off. It was the whole package. And the same thing with instructors and dive masters. There is a swagger that your Baywatch body kind of guy is going to carry himself with, and which often comes across to me, not always, but often comes across to me as just self-absorbed. But you can take some of that and apply that to yourself. There's a certain, if you have a certain pride in yourself, not overly, not egotistical, but if you take pride in yourself holistically, then you can carry yourself with and dress appropriately. Don't run around in the cargo shorts that look like they just they've been sitting in your basket for a week, and a Hawaiian shirt, that is untucked. Come dressed nice and neat. Even whatever your condition is, dress appropriately. Mm-hmm. If you come off, I will gravitate. My eye. When I first started getting involved in speech and debate and acting, my teacher said the eye is quicker than the ear, and that means that your audience will see you before you get a chance to speak. You're walking up to the podium. You're approaching your class of scuba students, whatever the situation is. They see you before they hear you. Right. And so they're already formulating opinion about you based on what they see. So you already have a potential deficit to overcome if you come in there going, oh, you did way well, and then you even if you speak eloquently, your facts, you've got dive tables memorized, all the formulas, for dive gas theory, etc. You've got all that cold, but you look like a slob. You have to do a lot of talking to overcome that image.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas you've got somebody who's got a Baywatch body, they're walking up and there's generally the ooh and the ah. And then you start talking, you're like, well, but he looks so good. You know, I'm not sure I believe what he just said, but he looks good. He seems
He looks
confident.
good doing it.
Yeah, exactly. He looks good telling me incorrect statements. But so the thing is, dress and carry yourself. Even if you're not svelte, you can overcome that by working all the rest of it. Take the holistic approach. And that way, if you get that chance to be interviewed in that kind of a job, and you really should work to do that. Don't just rely on these days. You just can't rely on only a resume for that kind of a job. Mm-hmm. You need to put in the effort to say, I would just like to talk with you. Don't even consider interview. I would just like to talk to you, and show up as if you had the job. Wow. You know, that's an attitude. It's a way you dress. It's a way you carry yourself. If you carry that attitude, like almost you'd be insane not to hire me.
Right.
You know, that it's amazing how much that overcomes a potential dive shop's tendency to go with the Baywatch body.
You know, if you walk into a dive shop, you're secure with your knowledge. You might not have that Baywatch body, but as long as you have a great attitude,
yep.
and that's what a lot of these people look for. Because remember, you're going to be dealing with customers, and they want the customers to come back.
That's
they
right.
want that whole customer, experience. And
yes.
I don't care who you are. If you got a bad attitude, there's going to be problems.
Yep.
I mean, I unfortunately I have, and let me rephrase it. I have worked with people in that capacity.
Yes.
And trust me, when they're gone, everybody's happy. But you get somebody in here, they might not be, fully knowledgeable, but they got a great attitude and they're willing to learn and they're there. It just makes it a lot nicer. So
True.
But if you got that experience and that's what you're going for, please have a great attitude and going in doing it. Because remember, you're there to perform a service. And
absolutely. Let me answer this text real quick. Speaking of scuba stuff, I was, but this isn't actually directly scuba. I got somebody from church who is into the paintball or the compressed pellet gun shooting stuff. And, of course, it uses compressed air. And so he's got the small canisters that they use in the guns. And they want a lot of them. They have this hand pump. I'm like, that's got to be insane. A hand pump to fill those. But obviously it's better if you have a big cylinder, a 60 or a 63 or an 80 to fill those from. And so he bought a tank. Now, obviously, you can't use it for scuba diving, but so I've been filling it for. Well, he had a problem with the O-ring on the valve; it was slightly leaking. So I worked on it today and got it fixed for him. So he's asking if I'm available to
pick it up. Yeah, that steel tank that they brought me to inspect, that thing is like nasty. Guys,
oh, speaking of that, I have to share something with you too.
If you got a steel tank, please.
Oh,
yes, it lasts longer. It's more expensive, but you got to maintain that thing because a little bit of moisture gets in there.
That's all it takes in a steel tank.
It will rust.
Yep. Yeah. As a matter of fact, another one of my friends who I used to be in a band with, he is getting into that too, and so it just so happened. That when I think I talked about this last week or the week before, somebody the people who used to own this house, they live out by the lake and they're moving to Nebraska or somewhere, and they were getting rid of he had all this old gear. I mean, old gear, and he had 4 tanks he was getting rid of. 3 of them were steel, 1 was aluminum, and he was like, "Here, you can have it all." And so I picked it all up. Most of it was junk. I kept all the lead weights. I'll probably give those to students. I was like, okay, you know what? So we can get you started on your gear. Here's your lead weight.
Here's your weight.
Because, those actually cost quite a bit just for the shipping to get to you.
Because they charge by weight.
Anyway, send this off. Okay, so to the steel tanks. Well, one was, you do the bell test. We're both certified to do the visual inspections. So there's slightly different processes you go with steel tanks than with aluminum tanks. So one of the quick things you can do right off the bat that saves you a lot of time is you do the bell test. And so you take a hammer and or a mallet and you just wrap the side of the tank. If it goes ding, it rings like a bell, then good deal. It's probably not rusted. At least it's not heavily rusted. So you can go ahead and continue on with the rest of the visual inspection to see if there's any pits, cracks, or anything else that also might be introducing a problem with it. But if it rings, then you go ahead and open it up and you actually do a more studied examination of the interior. Well, one of these, thunk, you could practically hear the rust inside. I was like, okay, this one's bad. The other one, it rang, but I opened it up and it was just... It was nasty. It had lots of pits in it.
Well, the one that I have there at the house, I hit it and it actually rang, and I thought, okay, we're in good shape, we're good,
right.
And my only concern, it raised a red flag because it had a J valve on it.
Oh yeah.
So
one of these did too.
So I'm like, okay, this is a little old here,
Which those can be good. One of our fellow divers, Ralph. He got 2 tanks at the flea market.
And he still dives with them, and they have J valves.
He just taped the J valve down, so it's just the whole thing's open. So,
but so it rang, opened it up, it was completely rusted on the inside. I saw some rust pits way down on the bottom by where the boot is, which is a big concern.
Oh yeah, yes.
If you have a steel tank and you have a boot on it, the water tends to get stuck around the boot inside, and of course, like anything else, if it isn't dry, it's gonna rust. So you got to make sure you remove those boots every now and then just to kind of take a look at the tank.
Yeah, you even have to do that with aluminum tanks too.
Yeah, of course, if you maintain your tanks the way you're supposed to and give them their yearly inspection, the tank inspector will go ahead and take that care. Take care of that for you. I'm sorry.
Yep.
But man, those things, they rust and they get nasty. I can't even imagine breathing in the air.
Oh, exactly right.
Oh, gosh. You talk about some lung problems.
Exactly.
I tipped it over and all that orange powder fell out of it.
Oh. You're thinking, ooh, that maybe got into somebody's lungs.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, it probably didn't make it through the first stage of the regulator, but yeah, the other one was pretty caked, and then the last steel tank and the aluminum one they were both full of air.
Ooh.
So I cracked open the aluminum one, and those don't typically, if they're gonna have any problems, it's gonna be through cracks, etc.
Right.
It's not gonna be for corrosion.
Yeah, corrosion.
It was in good shape. Cracked it open. Didn't see any issues there. I would personally replace the valve because it's a shorter throw neck on it, so it makes it very difficult to work the handle. So I would look at replacing that, but you don't have to. He's just using it for filling his gun cylinder.
Yeah.
The steel one it has a light rust in it, but because it was holding air, I was like, well, I'll go ahead and let the air out of it. Go ahead and take them down to Del Rio Welders here because they can do the hydro testing, and the steel passed.
Oh wow!
And so I went ahead and did a more extensive check, and the threads are good. Everything else is good, but because there is a light layer of rust inside,
you gotta
get it tumbled. Yeah. And I was looking online of ways to kind of make your own tumbler. I'm considering building my own.
Well, that's what Chris over there, he did his own. You just got to buy the little pellets.
Yeah.
And just put them in there, let it tumble.
Yeah. So I'm considering doing that. It's just, we deal with steel tanks so few times. This one with these 3 that I got for free. This makes 5 steel tanks that I've messed with.
Yeah.
You know, had 2 that were brand new. That couple came in from Uvalde and they wanted filled, and then these 3. So that's all that I've dealt with steel tanks. Everybody else has got the aluminum.
And well, I got mine. They brought it to me to go ahead and take a look at it, and it's just, you know, can I fix it? I'm pretty sure, but it's going to cost money to do so.
Yep.
So, it's just something that I had already calculated it, throwing in an extra $50, maybe $50, I can just get a new one.
Yep.
You know, so
exactly.
You know, an aluminum one.
Aluminum.
Yeah. So
now the other discussion that was going on was a kind of related question. Somebody asked about what everybody's thought the divemaster average annual earnings are, and Mike had posted. I found this just now. Seems to be way off base based on my both my experience and comments on Scuba Board. When I was management recruiting firm owner, I'm not sure what that is. I relied on such salary surveys. Okay, one of those general surveys that you see out there, which some of those are dead on and some of them are, I've seen them be kind of bogus. But evidently the average salary for a dive master, according to this survey at simplyhired.com, is $38,000. If you work in a gear shop, you can also earn commission from equipment sales. I'm like, I'd be surprised unless it was a really big operation. I just can't see a dive master making that unless you're including additional compensation that goes with it. You know, room and board or paying your license fees and those kind of things. Unless they're including those things as part of the benefits package, I find it hard to believe that they're making that much. I think some of the others were commenting that it's probably closer to about 27,000. Matter of fact, one of them said, instructor. Oh no, wait a minute. This one's saying at Cayman Islands, instructors start at 27,000 a year plus tips.
Cool.
But then they work. Okay, and then their permit, their pension, health insurance, and all that. So that's part of the package.
Okay.
So that's about what I expected.
But what was that? 27?
27, and Grand Cayman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, you got to figure if you go to real heavily competed areas, you're probably not going to see as high a salary, because, you know, in Cayman, we know from experience, you know, you've got a lot of places that have operations there, and you've got not only the people that fly in, but you've got all the cruise ships that come in and do their deals. So
you're talking about a lot of you got a lot of customers coming in, and so, and plus the weather's great, good client. I mean, good place to be working. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of competition too.
A number of people have commented that you're better off actually working for a someplace that does like the IDC, the instructor development course. So you become part of that cadre because there's evidently more income that goes with those, and I kind of see that making sense. But I have to admit, really, if you can get yourself in an area where you can make a go of it yourself, because Patty is one of the few agencies where you can really do an independent operation. You don't have to be affiliated with a dive shop. You know, keep your day job, and work up to exactly how I did it. You know, start adding stuff at a time. Places where you can rent for yourself, it just means you're going to charge a little bit higher amount till you can afford it yourself. But basically, you can start buying your own gear. Look at places that are selling huge discounts to get rid of outdated gear. You know, that's like, okay, that was 2 years ago model. We've got the new fresh hotness coming out. You know, you get that stuff that's really good. It's just they don't make it anymore. You can get, you know, 5 or 6 BCs. And then just do a little bit of critical shopping. What
you might also want to look at too is some of these bigger operations have student gear that they use for their courses. Still in good shape because it has to be maintained. Since they are shops, they do service their own equipment. They eventually do have to get rid of it, and they to upgrade for new stuff. Rob also just said, the new hotness comes out. They want to make sure that you're learning with the newest and best thing. Because word gets around like, I got certified at this place. Oh, what kind of gear do you use? Oh, you just, man, that stuff's old. I got certified over here, and they're using the brand new, flash and all that.
Right.
Color, display, computers and all this. Heart rate, my heart rate never got above, 180. It's, all that stuff. So, because they can afford that stuff, they sell it at their shop, and then of course if the students use it, they want to buy what they got certified with.
Absolutely.
But that gear is still good. They do sell it eventually. You might be able to pick up some of that. If you're starting out, it's good stuff.
Well, and you don't have to buy the as an instructor, you don't have to buy the top end stuff anyway. I shop at Leisure Pro and divers-supply.com, and they have some really good lower end gear that has the kind of features that I'm a fan of, that I explain to the students are the benefits of, like the integrated weights, the number of D rings where they're placed, the various release valves that you have. I'm a fan of not just the one on this shoulder, but also the one on the opposite shoulder and the rear dump as well. So and zippered pockets as opposed to the Velcro type, those kinds of things.
Right.
They're not as super durable, meaning you wouldn't want to be taking them to super cold weather or do tech diving with them. But for the kind of diving that we do here in Southwest Texas, that you would typically go in the Caribbean for, I would dive any day of the week with this stuff, and it's good. It's still good quality stuff, but doesn't cost you an arm and a leg to get these features. Same thing, over time, one piece at a time. I started out, as an instructor, you could start the same way. Okay, how many sets of equipment can you afford to buy? If it's one, start with one student. Okay, you have to teach many more classes just to get to even try and break even if you're really, really trying to make some money at it. That's why I say don't quit your day job, but right off the bat. But you can work your way up to it and start plugging money into it. Make capital investments into your business. So get a couple more. Then as you get to the next year, you take that money and you reinvest it, and you get a couple more sets. Now you can teach 3 students. Then you get to where you have just enough extra money where you can start spreading out and get different sizes. The beauty of the regulators, one size fits all. The beauty about the weights, they work regardless of the size of the person. You just have to have more of them. The only thing that you really have to worry about is if you're telling your students have your own personal gear, your mask, fin, snorkel, wetsuit, dive watch, knife, then the only thing that's size that you have to really worry about is the BC. I don't know where y'all live, but here I was able to start with mostly mediums, and that fit the majority of people that ended up being my students. You got to know what your student demographic looks like. And so eventually I got to a point where I was teaching younger people or girls who were really skinny, so I had to get the smalls and extra smalls, and I get some of the barons, that I had to get the large, the extra large, the XXX extra large. And that's all well and good, but it was over time. And, I'm at a point where I've pretty much got the kind of setup over, I got started teaching in 2008. And so now I've got a pretty solid setup. If I needed to go out and buy an additional BC to fit somebody, I could do it at a really, really inexpensive cost. But everything else would make up for that. Eventually I couldn't rely on, or chose not to rely on our local dive shop that had air fills.
Right.
I wanted to have a completely independent setup, so I eventually did buy a compressor. Fortunately, we've just got up the road here, nearby town.
Whoa, it's kind of far, not so nearby,
Well,
but
it's not like getting it shipped from
exactly,
California
you know,
or New York.
It was a drive.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful drive. So I got a compressor, $7,000.
Mm-hmm.
Fills 2 tanks in 20 minutes. Continuous use. Works out great. I wouldn't want to have a big event and try to fill with that. But it's perfect for the classes, So, and then eventually I got a trailer so I could carry all this stuff. And eventually, I, again, put more money into it over time. So over the space of these few years, I've got a completely mobile system, mobile setup. I can teach anywhere, anytime. I've got everything I need. Or if I don't have everything I need, it wouldn't take much to just get that additional this, that, or the other thing. But so basically, I've set myself up potentially that if I had to augment my income with that, I could do that. I'd start really marketing hard and really push that. And ultimately, when I do retire, I'll have a very good setup that I can do it on my terms.
Yep.
So you can do it, and you can get yourself to a point where you are living off of that. But don't think that just because you got through your IDC and you've got a few specialties under your belt that you're ready to go out and make $60,000 a year as an instructor. It ain't going to happen.
No.
You've got to know your market, be willing to move to where a market is up and coming, not one that's already saturated, and be willing to start really, really low end. I just encourage you, if you're looking to get into being an instructor, keep your day job and build up to it to the point where you can kind of cut that tether and then be an instructor full time.
That's the ultimate goal.
Yep, that's it. So speaking, again, the title episodes, frankly, I was blown away. We had a heck of a windstorm earlier this week. It was crazy. And so I decided to kind of do a dual purpose visit out to Lake Amistad. Everybody saw the pictures of the dive we did a couple of weeks ago, and some of the pictures of how low the lake was. Well, I went out to Blackbrush Point, and also to the area where we dive, where we call the Abyss.
Right.
And I have got, let's see, is this the one? Oh, star levels. There we go. Hello. This is Blackbrush Point.
Oh my gosh.
So as you look at this, for those who are not local, you won't recognize what we're looking at, but we have a number of boat ramps around Lake Amistad, and this is Blackbrush Point. This is the first one, the first real one you get to as you're heading out on the Highway 90 arm.
I remember diving that place.
Yeah, we have dive there. Off to the right here. If you look off to the right side, you see where the end of the boat ramp is. I didn't realize that there was an actual road and a bridge there. And then what you see in the near field on the left here is just the little walkway that would take you down to the water. This used to be full, where I was standing used to be underwater. So let me flip pictures here. Here's another picture. I was like, oh, that's a bridge.
Oh, wow.
I never knew. So obviously there was a road, and all of that you see in the distance
was underwater.
Yeah, all of that you see in the distance there was underwater. So this road was completely submerged. Pictures courtesy of my Lumia 920 phone, by the way. Here's the area off to the right that we dove with, what was her name?
The one who would talk underwater?
Yes, yes. This was, we joked that, when she claimed, oh, there's tons of fishes there. This is why we dove there.
Yeah.
There's tons of fishes there. We're like, we didn't see much of anything. All we kept saying, all there is moon surface. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Now you know what we're talking about when we say there's just moon surface, because that's exactly what it
It's
looks
just-
like underneath.
Just smooth and rocks.
I mean, there's nothing. I mean, there's not even much in the way of rocks. That's all there was there.
Yeah.
It was boring dive. Here's another view standing at the actual edge of the boat ramp. I mean, look how far. I mean, there's barely any water even underneath the old bridge, what's left of it. It's just becoming a canyon there.
Mm-hmm.
Just crazy. And another view looking out towards. It's just amazing. All this was underwater. I would be underwater right now if the lake were at its normal level. This is standing at the little pavilion.
Yes.
Where we go sometimes to dive the abyss. I mean, there's islands here. All of that where you see the white sand, the white land there, the island, everything, all of that was underwater. And look how windy it was there. We'll see some better pictures and some video here in a minute. But normally we would just carry our stuff just over the little crest you see in the near field there. And not much of a walk, and we'd be ready to suit up and jump in the water. Here's off to the right, which was all underwater. That's a pretty nice. That's a nice deep little drop.
Yeah.
Drop there. I would definitely hurt myself if I fell off of that. And here's a little better view of that. Kind of neat to, and where you see the dark streak here in the near field, that's where the water level normally is. And then looking out at all the white caps. Lost sheep in the field, as they say. And then this is looking out over the area that we normally would be suiting up at. This is where we normally would set our gear.
That's where I normally set my gear. That spot looks really familiar.
That's a long walk or fall down.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I think that's the last. Yeah. So now I have some video. I want to play. And I've got the audio way down because the wind was so strong. Again, this video is courtesy of my Lumia 920 phone. There's our setup point. So what's neat is, as I come around here, we get to see actually what part of the abyss looked like.
Oh, it's already out of water?
Yes.
Yeah, because we'd normally be swimming around there, going out.
Right where that bush is, we'd actually be kind of coasting shallow.
The abyss is still technically underwater, right?
Most of it. But you'll see as we come around. You should recognize. I recognize the curve of the area that we'd drop in.
Because it seemed kind of far, to swim out there.
Yeah, and now I realize, because now we see it in context on above ground or above the water. I mean, look how big the waves were. It was actually starting to create a halo effect on my lens because the water was spraying in my face.
I guess it would be, cool now because now we know exactly where it is. So now we can just go straight to it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because remember, sometimes we was kind of hit and miss, and then all of a sudden we'd find a little cliff down, and then we would just. Wow.
This was, look at it as the water splashes, you see the wind just pushing the big spray. This was like it was when we had we had that class, the whole family, and we came up and it was like this. When we went down, it was perfectly calm. When we came up, it was like this, and big waves crashing and having to show them how to do a crawl.
That poor fellow,
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery got slapped on that rock.
Yep.
The wave literally just picked the poor guy up and just threw him down.
But he did it right. He followed the instructions. He did it right.
Yeah.
Look at the spray. See, we'd be cruising right along here. This is about 15 feet underwater. This is normally about 15 feet underwater right where we're at right here. Actually, closer to 20. And the camera doesn't really do it justice, but that is actually still a ways down. That's another 15, 20 feet right there. Just at 720p, it's just got a lot of detail. I mean, look at the where I've got the volume at this. I mean, it was loud. Let me bring it up a little bit here. That's how bad the wind was. Now see, you recognize this?
Mm-hmm.
This is where we'd start dropping into the abyss.
Yeah, because right there, it still drops down about,
Oh, a lot.
yeah, about 100 feet.
And you'll see as we come around here where we really we would start to do our serious drop.
Yeah. Have no illusion, folks. It's still deep right there.
Oh, yeah.
Just off that little step, if you know, just where he's exactly at, it drops straight down. When the water was up.
Look at that.
Yeah, when the water was all the way up there, I mean, we were at 140 feet.
Yep.
So it's deep. You know, so if you're taking the younglings out there to go swimming because the water's so low, be careful because it's a drop off.
Yep.
Hey, there are the cliffs.
Yep.
What's left of them?
Yeah.
Oh, they're cliffs.
They're
all right.
huge cliffs now.
They're huge cliffs now.
Look at this.
Wow.
That look familiar?
Yep. Oh yeah. You know, it's kind of funny though. Seeing it like above water.
Yeah.
Underwater, it just looks like, you know, I was cruising down there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's still deep right there. I mean, even though the water's still kind of low, but it's still deep. God, I just can't believe how low the water is.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Seems where it's really starting to drop.
Yeah, it just drops straight down. It's starting to
And
go
then
straight
I
down.
come across this side, and I remember this area really well.
Uh-huh. I remember that.
Yep. I'm like seriously leaning into the wind to keep from getting blown off into the water.
Yeah, that's just
Yep.
it's just straight
Straight
down.
down.
Yeah.
It's just so weird to see it like this.
God, I can't. It's just weird to see it out of water.
Yeah. It was just kind of neat, you know, seeing the wind whip the water up so much that it looked like this. But you know, I was like, I've got to come out there. Realizing the lake was down so low, and because the wind was so high, I just wanted to get some good views. But I was like, to miss a chance to videotape and get pictures of the abyss area while it's higher in the water, I was like, I'm not going to miss that. So I left right from work and went straight out to the lake to get these shots. There off in the distance, you see it goes into Scuba Cove, where we normally do all our diving. And then there's Highway 90 Bridge way over there. Castle Canyon, which is probably now we probably see it'd be very easy to get to the canyon and dive there too. Look at that. That's a lot. That's down a lot.
That's down. Breaks my heart to see the abyss out of water.
Yep, no kidding. But it'll make it easier to get to the dive.
Yeah.
Of course, it's very cold.
You know what, though? Now, since the water's so low, we jump in right there. we can actually explore deeper now.
That's true.
To see
That's true.
what's actually how far. Because remember, our computers were telling us, they were yelling at us to get up out of the water. So.
Yeah, so we could actually make a pretty good dive of it. So,
Mm-hmm.
so that, ladies and gentlemen, is Lake Amistad on a very windy day. You can see the waves get pretty kicking out there. So if you do have a propensity for seasickness, you could actually get seasick out there on a day like that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you wouldn't want to be diving on a day like that because it'd be very, very tricky getting in and out of the water safely. But then also the visibility would be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unless you're like us.
Well, yeah, we'll dive when you can't see anything, but still.
We dive in the dark, Robert.
Yeah, that's true. Love the night diving.
Who cares about visibility?
Yep, absolutely. Well, like I said, I might have more time for diving with the sequester. So
Sequester.
Well, so let's jump to we're running as per normal. We're about a half hour over schedule. So let me bring up the administrivia. And okay, so our next dive club meeting coming up on the 21st of March at Rudy's Restaurant at 7 p.m. We'd love to have you there just to kind of chat, talk about if you're a diver, you kind of share with us your dive experiences or what you're expecting out of diving here, so we can dash your hopes.
Yeah, we like bursting bubbles.
Yeah, we do, and we like blowing bubbles too. And then also, we've got our Balmorhea State Park dive trips lined up. That's May 17th through 19th, June 14th through 16th, July 19th through the 21st, and August 16th through the 18th. And, of course, if we still have water in the lake, we will have dive classes this year, 23rd through the 26th of May, the 27th through the 30th of June, the 25th through the 28th of July, the 22nd through the 25th of August, and the 26th through the 29th of September. And I did actually have somebody who just recently joined our little Facebook page. She and her husband are certified, are interested in getting their advanced.
Ooh,
so
cool.
If I get enough people interested, 2 or 3 or 4 even, I like to do it no fewer than 2 that are interested in getting your advanced certification. Just let me know. We'll get that. We'll negotiate a weekend for that. And you can always check us out on our website, delriodiveclub.com, or even better, visit us at Facebook /Del Rio Dive Club. And you can chat with us, send us texts on through Skype, which is now synonymous with the old Windows Messenger, 2 Guys Who Dive, or you can email us at tgwd@outlook.com. Then, of course, if you'd like to converse electronically,
please,
with Scuba Bob, because he likes friends.
I do.
He likes to chat. He likes to text. He likes to. Well, he's kind of getting the Twitter thing down.
Yeah.
But you can follow him on Twitter at rsgarza435 or send him an email at rsgarza821@yahoo.com. And then, of course, if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, that's at robertcfp, or send me an email, robert.wade@setifox.net. And we would truly love to hear from you. And though nobody jumped in the chat page today, we definitely would like to hear from you.
Yes.
You can always participate. Anybody who's been in our chat room before knows that we watch that, and we'll bring you into the discussion. Eventually, they'll get we'll get the Skype thing going, and we might even allow people to Skype into the show. And
that would be nice.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. So love to hear from you that way. But you can always catch us here every Saturday night, barring any unforeseen circumstances, every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Central Time. Just visit us at just go to ustream.tv and search for 2 Guys Who Dive, and you'll find our page. Or certainly watch for the Twitter announcements. I always tweet and send through LinkedIn and through Facebook when we're getting ready to do the podcast. And we'd love to have you watch the show live. But obviously, if you're not watching this live, you're probably watching it on YouTube. So we always upload it to YouTube right after the show, and we'd love to hear your comments, questions, suggestions. So I don't have anything else. How about you?
I don't.
That's it. All right. So we thank you once again, and we'll see you next week on another fun-filled, exciting episode of Two Guys Who Dive.
Good night.
See ya.